Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing Horde chess, where white starts with a bunch of pawns and no king. White wins by checkmating black, and black wins by taking all of white's pawns. My goal is to win 3 games. Let's get started with game number 1. I can't say I don't understand the strategy for this because I have an hour-long video where I find out how many pawns I need to beat Magnus, which is basically playing this variant. That's not to say that I'm going to win every single game, but I think I have a pretty decent starting point with that. My plan is just to kind of push all of my pawns in the center and then not leave any blank spaces. So like blank space behind my pawn, I'd rather not leave any blank spaces in my position. This is going to be a little bit different since I have to play within 3 minutes. There's not a lot of time to calculate here. It's kind of interesting what my opponent is doing. I've never seen this before. So I'm just going to continue with my old strategy. Okay, we get c6, offers a pawn trade, but doesn't actually threaten anything, so I'll just keep going. Okay, we get takes, and I assume I should capture towards the center. So I can push c4, c3, so I'll take like that. And the only thing I have to avoid is I have to make sure that no pieces get to the back rank. If he gets one of the pieces to the back rank, then it's pretty much over for me. For now, we're just going to keep filling in these spaces until there's actually a threat. And right now, there's these 2 captures on the board. If takes, I guess I can just take back. If takes, pretty much the same thing, so I'll keep pushing. Okay, we do get that capture. Go ahead and, which way should I take? Because the problem is if I take with this pawn, I can never actually move this pawn. It would leave h4 hanging. So I guess I have to take towards the outside on this one. Also, interestingly enough, here on the second rank, pawns can move 2 spaces forward, and the same thing on the first rank. So on the first rank, the pawn can either move 1 square forward or it can move 2 spaces forward. g6 actually does threaten f5, but if I play e4, I'm well defended. So e4 and we should be fine. I'm down to 2 minutes already, which is not giving me a lot of confidence, but I think if I just keep with this strategy, I should be okay. All right, we'll take. I don't love that I'm opening up this file. Again, if a piece gets back here, it's pretty much wraps. But maybe with e4, e3, I can stabilize everything in the center. At that point, I'd really just have to watch out for a sacrifice of any sort. Okay, we get d6, putting pressure on c5. If I push e4 now, takes. Could sacrifice the bishop, which would be a little bit of a headache. So I'll actually take first, and then I'll push e4. Okay, nothing's threatened, so e4. And I just have to watch out for sacrifices here. If I can keep an eye out for sacrifices and more importantly, free pawns, I think I'll be in good shape. Okay, we get knight to f6. Doesn't threaten a sacrifice, so we'll go e1 to e3. Kind of bolster our center a little bit. And I guess we have this fork on the table as well, although it's really not that great considering it opens up this file. There is this fork, however, which wouldn't open up anything. So we would just pick up free material. I probably should have played that now that I think about it. But we do get knight to d7, which removes both of those, which is fair. We'll play c5 here is very tempting to play c4 and then c3, and it kind of saves me a tempo from playing c2 and then doing the same thing anyways. So I'll play c5 here. And like I said, what I'd like to play is just c4 and then c3. Start grabbing some extra space. It's quite weird playing this without your king back here. We'll play c3, because when I played with the bots, I had the king back here, so as soon as a piece got to the back rank, I usually got mated within 2 or 3 moves. But here, since there's no king on the back rank, even if they do make it back here, they'd have to be able to somehow retroactively stop all of my pawns before one of them promotes, which is a tactic that I think is very worth keeping in mind here. Okay, g5 seems to just work here. So I'll play g5, pick up my free material. Okay, we'll go ahead and take. Queen takes back. There is this sacrifice on the board, takes, but everything is still defended. So I'll continue with b5. Okay, we get rook to a5, which does inhibit this move because this is free. Or, well, does it really? If I play b4 and takes, b3 and takes again, you can't ever take on a2. I have this pawn right here. So then I can just continue marching with these pawns. So I think that's worth it, especially to bolster c5 here. I wouldn't want any sacrifices that allow him to get into the position. Okay, what about, I could do the same thing on this side as well, g4, and then what I'm kind of working with is this pawn structure, and then I can just push in the center and basically bum rush him, which I think has to be worth something, but difference is if I play this now, we get bishop takes, and then there's this sacrifice, queen to h4. If here takes, it's not the best thing. Oh, I'm down to 30 seconds as well. You know what? Let's just push in the center. I can't lose this on time. That would be just a terrible disgrace. I'd rather learn something and have it played out than just flag overthinking it. Okay, we do get the sacrifice. Go ahead and push on e6. Again, there's no king, which is really hard to intuitively think about, but there's no king. So it doesn't matter if he takes my pawns if I actually make it to the other side. Right, he has to take all of my pieces, not just... Okay, let's play this. Not just some of them, right? He has to take all of them, even the ones that promote. Okay, we even have e4 protecting this, and I think we're doing quite well here. I think the hardest part for me is just going to be shaking the notion that there's a king to defend when there's no king to defend. Not to mention that this is 3-2. This is free now, but that's all right. We're getting some pretty good distance on this side of the board. Let's play d5 so we can play c6. What I was going to say is this is 3-2, so I get 2 seconds back for every move. Okay, we'll play c6. I think we're making decent progress here. Let's play it this way. Okay, we'll continue to push. Right, we'll play c7. Looking for c6, d7. Yep, we do get it. I'm very curious to see how he's going to stop this. He probably has to sacrifice here to leave me with doubled pawns, but he doesn't. So we'll play check. I trained with Magnus for this, buddy. I'm going to make this hard. Let's play check with unstoppable promotion. And at that point, it should just be crushing. This king is just far too weak in this position. Of course I want a queen. Why would you even ask me anything else? We're going to promote to another queen here, and I think we're just unstoppable then. We're still at 30 seconds, so I've been playing within the 2-second time frame that I've been allotted. And is this not checkmate? Bada bing, bada boom, nice. Okay, we did win our first game, and I think we played it quite solidly. I don't think I have anything to be ashamed of from that game. I was quickly aware that, yes, I don't want his pieces to get back here, but should my opponent's pieces penetrate the back rank, there's no king to worry about, so I just have to rush to the other side fast enough to justify that invasion. All right, we're 1 for 1. Let's move on to game number 2. All right, okay, we've been assigned the pawns again, which is not my favorite thing in the world, but at least now I have a general sense of what I'm looking for. We get a different strategy this time. We'll go ahead and defend this pawn doubly. Should he take, we recapture. There's another pawn where that came from, so infinite pawn glitch to our advantage here. I'm going to do a little bit better about watching my time, though, because luckily last game was so overwhelmingly winning that it didn't really matter, but I wouldn't want to get into a position that's precise and then capture with the wrong pawn, and all of that happened because I'm down on time. Anyways, now I'm yapping and losing time. None of these pawns are attacked doubly, so we'll continue to push. What I mean by attack doubly is there's no sacrifice, so like takes. The bishop can't sack because it's defended well enough. Go ahead and take this. Now this pawn is only defended once, this pawn is only defended once, this pawn is only defended once, and those are the pawns that I'm looking out for because those are the ones that he could sacrifice a piece on and then like recapture. Obviously, those are illegal arrows that I just drew, but hopefully you get the idea. Go ahead and push in the center. Probably have to push here at some point, c6. If I take, he takes d6. Is that not just really uncomfortable? Actually, let's play d6 straight away. If takes, I recapture, and then we still have this pretty nice pawn structure here. Not to mention, should he take, then there's d5, and then we're looking for e6 as well. Okay, this threatens the c5 pawn, so I'll go ahead and defend that. Okay, I suppose we should take back with this one. We can play b4. I like to keep these central pawns, you know, in the center. We'll go ahead and take back. Just watching out for sacrifices here. That's really the only thing I have to be wary of. a6 threatens this. So what about a4? Takes. Opens up the rook, but there's nothing it can actually attack. That's kind of interesting. Let's play this. And I'd love to have like e5 and then c6. I guess I'd have to have d5 come in first, though, so that there's no sacrifice of the knight. Right? Because if I play c6 right now, knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and I've completely alleviated the pressure, and all he's lost is a knight for 2 pawns, which is relatively fair. We get queen to b5. I wonder if I should start pushing other pawns. Like b3 and then a4, for example. That seems pretty sound. There's no reason to overextend, right? Because if I send 3 pawns by themselves into battle, I'm sure that one of them is going to get sacked on, and then I'm going to have 3 pawns missing and no pressure on his position. Okay, there's this sacrifice on the board now, which is actually very amusing. It would allow him to get to the back rank, and I would have to justify it on this side of the board, which I think should be possible. So we'll push d5 here, because I have this pawn chain that extends all the way from back here. So unless this queen munches through all of these pawns and then munches all the way up through here, then he won't be able to get to the root of the problem on this side of the board. So I should be okay. Let's see, we'll push. Can't push this because it breaks the pawn chain. So we'll push e5 so that c6 can come up next. Okay, we do get that capture. Let's see, what about e6 here is quite interesting as well. Takes. If d7, takes, c6. It's just so, this is going to come down to like 1 or 2 tempo, and I'm going to be left with my head scratching, wondering which tempo I should have played. Let's play c6 right away to at least have that pressure on the position. There's also pawn here, which is quite interesting. Maybe e6 is necessary first. Okay, we get a knight sack for a single pawn, which has to be better for me. Do I take with this pawn or this pawn? Okay, it has to be with this pawn, right? So that I can get e6. I guess that would require d4 and then c5 first to defend this pawn. We'll play c5 right away. Okay, he continues to take pawns, but I don't think that's fast enough. We'll play e6. And I'm wondering how he's going to stop me from promoting. Okay, we get takes. I'll take back towards where I'm trying to promote. I really only have these pawns to work with, so it's possible there's a sacrifice here that eliminates my threats, but it seems unlikely. Okay, knight here. Very interesting. If I takes back, he's probably doing okay there. What about c7? That's not good either. d7, king moves over. d6. Very sketchy. Knight takes. If I take, king takes. There's nothing there either. If check there, and I just take, the king just captures. Who's going to defend you? No idea. Okay, what about this? King moves over. And then what? What do I play? I'm just going to play it. I'm down to 27 seconds. I don't have this much time to analyze. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to consolidate my pawn structure by playing c4, and that's going to make my pawn structure come from all the way back here on d1, forcing him to go through all of these captures. He takes. I'll take with this. This is kind of interesting. Anyways, I'll play c4. Now you can see that I have this crazy pawn chain all the way from back here, which is going to force him to take all of these pawns one by one. That buys me enough time, I think, to play this. And with any luck, we'll get away with f6. Okay, he does allow f6, which seems not good. Takes, we're threatening the knight. This is promising. This is very promising. Okay, rook. Wait, what? I can't just take? There's no way I can't just take. I'm going to take. There's no way that's not fine, right? Okay, now do I just take and then push the pawns, or do I play check and then d6? Check and d6 seems more promising, because if I take right away, then there's no way for me to keep pushing. So we'll go check, d6. The threat is this. I know I'm down to 12 seconds and I'm still talking my head off, but I swear it's worth the analysis. We'll see how he defends against this. I'm not sure that there's a way to actually stop me. I guess I can just push. You have to come and defend. And if I can get the queen on defense, then we're just running up with f5, defending the pawn structure, and then I just push the pawns on the king side. So, you know, g5, h5, f6, g6, h6. Somebody hold me back because I'm coming in. This is like that meme where the FBI kicks in the door. I'm just breaking down the walls. I'm gonna promote one way or another. Okay, he sacks the knight, which is just a move of desperation. There's no way that was actually effective. The knight was fine here just defending. We'll play g4 to break through. I guess I've hung this pawn. Maybe I can push on this side. I can't imagine this requires super precise play. I mean, this is just a ridiculous number of pawns. Okay, we'll play h3 to consolidate this. And I guess I just do anything now. This. Right? As long as I don't give away any more free pawns, I should be fine. And as long as I don't talk my head off to the point that I've run out of time either. It's really hard for him to buy time. He really just has to stay on this diagonal with whatever he's going to do, or else I promote this pawn. So if he hops off, there we go. We do get the resignation, and we have won game number 2. What I was going to say is if he hops off this diagonal in any manner, then I promote the pawn. So really it's just him moving back and forth, and me just, you know, trotting along with my pawns. All right, we are 2 for 2. Let's move on to game number 3. All right, game number, oh my goodness, we get white again. And we're playing a 1700, which is not, you know, a small rating for a variant. Okay, this must be an opening of some kind because now 2 opponents have played this exact same line. I'm assuming the idea is open up the rooks, attack the weakest point, which is definitely these kind of side pawns, and get behind the pawns as fast as possible. Okay, this is defended, so I'll continue to push my pawns. Actually here I even have g5 with tempo on the rook and then g4, so I'll play that. And I care about the tempo because I really want to have the option to take back. Oh, I've just hung this pawn. I was going to say I'd like to have the option to take back however I think is most valuable to me, but now I've hung this pawn unnecessarily. Okay, that's the only drawback to playing a little too quickly. We'll see if he even notices because he's... Oh, he didn't notice. Okay, I guess we got out of that situation. Not well deserved. I mean, that was totally luck. But we get e6 now, threatening both of these pawns. f6 here is really tempting. Forcing that sacrifice. Then maybe g5. I'm going to roll with it. I'm sure that there's some incentive for him to sacrifice pieces for 2 pawns, but I don't believe he has enough pieces to do that and get rid of all of my pawns. So there has to be some advantage to grabbing this space for me. Okay, we'll play g5, right? I don't want to allow this sacrifice because that makes it a little bit too easy for him to get into my position. Okay, there's this, but that's not really of concern. We'll push e5. We're kind of playing on the dark squares here. Okay, the king comes over. We'll play e4, reinforce these pawns. Okay, king to g7. Not really sure what his play is here. I guess just moving the king out of the line of sight of all of my pawns. Because you can kind of think about this like a closed position, right? We have this kind of checkerboard pattern where all of my pawns control the dark squares, all of his pawns control the light squares. So we're kind of at a gridlock on this side of the board, probably the safest place for his king to hang out. Can't even push g4 because rook takes. So it's reasonable play. I'm gonna go ahead and buy myself some time by just playing some somewhat intuitive moves, just kind of filling up the gaps that I've created. We get f6. Oh, another sacrifice. I mean, let's do it, man. Let's go. Let's sacrifice stuff. I was thinking his plan was to gridlock the king side and then just leave the king there, but it seems he wants to look for counterplay on that side of the board, which, you know what? Be my guest. Let's see what happens. E4 now. There's this sacrifice, which is mildly amusing, but I'm not sure it's worthwhile. I don't know. It could be perfectly valid. I'm not really sure what the follow-up would be. Okay, queen to e7 certainly invites d6, which I quite like because it divides the board into the king side and the queen side, right? Because if I play d6, I have this kind of triangle, and the only way for him to get from one side of the board to the other is through the back rank. So it's kind of like creating a little bit of a funnel in the position. And I'm down for that. Takes. If we get a rook sack, full respect. Full respect if we get a rook sack. But if we don't, then I'll play c5, consolidate my position, and then I'm just looking to basically run him over on the queen side before he can get, defensive forces across the board. Okay, b5 here seems to just pick up material. So I will accept free material if I can have it, right? I will say thank you. Thank you to my opponent for the free material, but I will have to accept it. We have a very well-defended passed pawn here. Let's play d4 to defend c5. And I'd like to calculate quite well when I play b4, because it does give up a4, even though it gives me the opportunity to play b5. I'd like to calculate that decently precisely. There's this sacrifice again, but it's a little bit desperate. This bishop has converted into a pawn, and looking at c6. We'll play c3 now. And I guess I should be grabbing this space in the center as well. The more space I can preemptively give myself, the less tempo it's going to take me later in the game to actually run to promotion. So I'm going to grab all the free tempo that I can get, including g2. I know it seems petty. All right, and now what's the game plan here? d5 is tempting, but it drops this. So b4 would be necessary. Rook takes. There's no more captures. I mean, I could even play b3 here, actually. The rook takes, but it's not looking at this pawn. This pawn is defended. So I'll play that as well. b3 will give up this pawn. And I guess now we just play in the center. So what about d5 here? Takes. That just loses a pawn, but it does clear the way for a lot of other pawns, like c4. c4 can happen. The bishop goes back. d5. It's a hard call, to be honest. There's also b5 here with takes, which is just an exchange. So I like that a little bit better than giving away pawns for funsies. Okay, we'll take back. And now there's definitely well, actually no. Now there's c6, I guess. c6, and then we can play d5. There's also c4. Okay, this is anticipating c6, right? Looking for that bishop sacrifice. So I'll play c4 right now, looking for d5. Okay, the king moves over. This is admittedly quite frustrating. Let's go ahead and do the same thing on this side. I'm fine if he takes these pawns, because I just want to get more space. What about f5 here? Takes, queen takes, c6. Can he stop all of my pawns? Maybe, I don't know. Let's play this as well. I'm fine with giving... Oh, there's no pawn here to defend this. That was a oversight, and I apologize for playing that disastrous move. Let's play this and get the material that we can get. And try to cope harder with the position that I've just put myself in. Let's see, what about d5? Takes. Queen here. Let's play c5 first. Grab a little bit of that extra space. Again, it doesn't really matter if he takes all of these pawns. There's no king back here to be heard of, so I just need to get to the other side before, he consumes me from back to front. So I guess we're looking for c4 here, and then d5, but that drops this. Maybe we can take, however. I don't know. It's a little bit sketchy. He's down to under a minute. I'm down to 30 seconds, not even. Yeah, this was kind of crushing for me because it weakens f3, which would be the base of support for a lot of my plans here. Okay, queen goes back, so this isn't threatened anymore. Now we push d5. d4 if you try to threaten this. I'll take towards the outside since there's no pawns here, but there's a pawn on this side. Not to mention that this is very, very well rooted. Sorry for those terrible arrows. This is very, very well rooted. Whereas if I had taken this way, there's a missing pawn here, so there's not really a base of support for all of that. Okay, we'll play this, defend the pawn. Really just looking for e4, f5. Okay, I don't know what's up with my arrows today. I do apologize. That is not a legal move. e4, f5, e6, yada, yada, yada. Seems he's not sure what to do because he's just shuffling the king back and forth. And so we approach. Aha, the rook retreats. Very nice. I like to see that. Okay, we'll push. I'm not really in a rush. If he doesn't challenge me, then I'm going to push my pawns one by one. We'll play check. G4 to protect this. Now we have e5. Let's see if he can stop me. He's got 14 seconds to calculate this very precisely. I'm surprised he hasn't sacrificed here yet. We'll play check. Check again. Check again. I know we lose this pawn, but there has to be a way to guarantee promotion here. Not to mention that he's almost flagging here. We'll force promotion on e8. Let's see, d7. Okay, f7. Queen takes stops this. Ooh, did I misplay this? I don't know. Perhaps. It's possible. There's non-zero chance that I did. Let's go for it. Whatever. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Okay, what about d6 here? If you take, I promote for sure. So d6. Optimistic for nothing, probably. Oh, maybe not. Promote. Promote. 3 promotions. Not something you see every day. Okay, now what? I just need to checkmate him. So I guess I just look for a check where I can trade off the queens. How do I do this? Why is this confusing? Check? It's confusing because I don't have a king somehow. F4, I guess? Anything wins here. I just need to trade off the queens and then he can't stop all of my pawns. Sure, let's check, I guess. Check again. What are you gonna do? Take my pawn? Okay, check. We'll take back. And there's way too many pawns to be stopped here. Okay. What are we doing here, huh? What are we doing? Check. And then it's mate on g7 no matter where you go. And mate. All right. We won all 3 games. I'm kind of surprised we got white for all 3. I wasn't particularly happy with that because I wanted to flex my muscles on both sides of the board, but I'm quite happy that we did win all 3 games. I guess all that training with Magnus beating me up with a bunch of pawns was worth something at least. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below if you really liked this variant or if there's any other variants that you want me to try. You probably know more than I do. And I will see you guys in the next one.